let's start with kind of like a little bit of a background, you know, very small background of what's been happening in Sudan. Could you, if someone's never heard of Sudan or like what's going on, or like the little bit of a history of what's going on, what would you tell them? How would you kind of introduce them to the topic?
So I always find it really hard to do like a really brief thing. So I'll do a really, really brief, and then maybe we'll like talk.
It doesn't have to be brief, yeah. For the whole conversation.
Well, I feel like if it's not brief, it will be the whole conversation.
Fair enough.
So right now, people have probably heard about Sudan because there's a war. The war started on the 15th of April, 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because two parties, SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, and RSF, the Rapid Support Forces, basically started fighting each other. So a lot of what we've been hearing is that there's a civil war. It's not a civil war because the civilians are not fighting each other. It's a war on civilians. So both parties are attacking the civilians. But then why I kind of say it needs to be a bit of a bigger conversation is to understand why they are doing this. So basically in 2018, 2019, there was a peaceful revolution by the people to get rid of the 30-year dictator, Omar al-Bashir. And like I said, it was peaceful. So like they were met with like a lot of violence, and they remained peaceful. And they basically so the protest started in December 2018.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically, in April 2019, the protests were still happening. And so they decided that because he hadn't left, the dictator, they were going to like stage a sit-in outside the military headquarters and not leave until he like stepped down. So like I remember like here in like the diaspora, we were like watching on Facebook Live because people were like live streaming it, and it's like sitting there at night watching people being like, "Fuck, it's gonna get." Sorry, I don't know. If I'm...
No, you got to swear. You got to swear. No, keep going.
Being like, we're literally, it's gonna get dark. We don't know what they're gonna do, and then you're just hearing like gunshots, and you're like, "Oh my god, are people gonna die? Are people gonna leave?" And like people just stayed without violence. They just stayed, and there was like, obviously they would have had to run, so they didn't just die, but that basically didn't deter them. And eventually Bashir did, I say, step down. Basically, like there was a coup within his own party, within the military, that forced him to step down. And then they put in a replacement. What was his name? His name is so irrelevant because he lasted one day. Okay. So they brought him in, and they were like, no, like we said, like Tuskut, like the regime must fall, like we're not leaving until the whole regime falls. So they brought this guy in for a day, and people were like, we're not leaving, because he's the same guy. So the next day he was gone. And then they brought in Burhan, who's like now the head of the Sudanese Armed Forces. And so the people were still like, you like
just
you
replace
head of the snake, because you're just giving us another snake, you know? So they stayed, and then it basically ended up being like a huge like sit-in outside the military headquarters. And like I wish I could, like it was huge. Like I don't know how big of a space I can tell you it was. I'm trying to think of something to liken it to.
Like the amount of people that turned up to the thing?
The amount of people, but also the amount of space that it took up.
Okay, yeah.
So what happened is like they arrived in April and they stayed for months. And so basically like one of the things that it, like ignited in me is I'm Sudanese, but I'm a creative. And like Sudanese, like your doctors and your lawyers, and like a lot of like African like diaspora kids. You know, that's what you should do. And so I didn't know any like Sudanese actors or anything at the time. But what was so beautiful was seeing that like the art that came out of it. So like the streets on the walls were all suddenly covered in art. The ground was covered in art. They ended up having, it was so beautiful. They ended up having like stages up, and like people were like performing. Some like people from like other countries, like diaspora people flew in to like perform on the stage, like at the sit-in. Like it just became like this big hub. They had like schools for street children because the street children were there. They had like little like different stands and booths going along so that like different people could give talks. So like maybe like the Communist Party would give a talk, or like your neighborhood committee would be there. So like our neighborhood committee was there, like we would walk through and stuff like that. Like people had football games, like they had library, like, do you know what I mean? Like they had makeshift hospitals, but like notice that I'm saying plural. It's not like a makeshift hospital, it's like makeshift hospitals. So big. And so like that was so beautiful. And then I ended up coming because my dad was like, some people are like bringing a flight from like people from London, you should come. And I hadn't been back for like 16 years. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go back. Me and my mum were like, okay. Me and my mum came back. So I'm really grateful that we got to see that.
What was it like when you got there and you saw it? What was your first like a reaction to seeing that level of scale of like resistance in that level?
It's mad, like it's beautiful, but like it's like that thing of like what I was saying to you earlier about like I love theatre because when you're on a stage, like you feel like the energy of the audience. Like I feel like I can liken it to that, not because it's staged, but because like it's like this collective feeling and like it's this collective resistance, and like everyone was unified in that. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about Sudanese people is like their generosity and their kindness, and how like I said, like I remember in the sit-in there was a box on the floor and it said, if you need some, take some. If you have some, leave some. And it was a box of money.
Oh, wow.
It's just like a box. It's like, if you have some, leave some. But if you need some, then take some. And it's just like no one's guarding the box.
Yeah.
It's like, this is, if you need it, then take some. And then like, there's like multiple entrances to the sit-in because basically the capital city is like a tri-state city because the White Nile and the Blue Nile meet in the capital Khartoum, and then it goes north up to Egypt. So like we have Khartoum North and Omdurman, and that's like the 3-state capitals. So to get, at least for us to get into the sit-in, we would have to like cross one of the bridges. So there's loads of bridges in the capital, Niles everywhere. So but what I do remember is like going with my family, like my first day I arrived, haven't seen them. It like everyone's been fasting because it's Ramadan, and like everyone's gone to sleep, and then they've woken up, we're going to break our fast, and then they're all like, what do you want to do? Like, you're in Sudan. I'm like, I want to go to El Qiyada. So El Qiyada is like the name of the sit-in. It means like the military headquarters. And they're like, you've just come here and you want to go to the military? I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm here. Obviously, it was nice to see them, but that was like the big thing.
That was what the trip was to kind of...
It ended up being both. It was like a reunion with my family and to see that, and just kind of like to bring me back to my culture, I think. Because like I'd been here, then I lived in the States. I think my time in the States was like very separate from my culture. Then I came back. But yeah, one thing I do remember is like driving, everyone's like pulling up, and then there's like military trucks and guns pointing, and there's the bridge. And it was like, I'm going to have to walk past guns to get onto the bridge. I've never walked into
the firing line.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But like, I think it's important to point out, like, again, like the slogan of the revolution was Silmiya, which means peacefully. So everyone was saying like Silmiya, Silmiya, which was like, we are the peaceful ones, like they're the violent ones, like we will not pick up arms, like even if they like try to give us weapons, if they lay weapons down, I was like people would be like, no, like that's not what we do. Like there's even like videos of like people with their weapons and like civilians being like, what are you doing? Like, we're brothers, we're family, like stop, like put your weapons down, like but refusing to take up arms. So it was theirs.
I just a question I had while you were describing that. It's like, what, first of on 2 levels, right? First of what is misunderstood about it? So obviously, even for you, when you were hearing the news here, seeing the Facebook Live here, and then being on the ground there, what was that like? What did you realize on the ground that you didn't really understand? Like for us, because we're here trying to understand something that's going on there. What is that like when you're there, rather than hear about it on the news?
Yeah, I think